And we are live. Welcome to another episode of Business Focus Live with me, John, where we talk about business related topics as well as news from here and around the world. If you're new to this channel, don't forget to subscribe and let's get started. And we're back. Thank you again for joining me today. So, in today's episode, we'll be talking about a few topics. Primarily Microsoft's 2 trillion valuation. So they've been doing a lot of things this past few months. So how are they able to reach this point and even catch up to the level of Apple, the company? We also have another topic on the I won't say unlikeliest partnership, but typically when you talk about companies partnering, it's very unlikely. So in this case, when you hear those companies partnering up, so it's always interesting to know about those things. So in this case, we're talking about Netflix partnership with a movie studio. So we'll talk about that. Next is, since we're talking of devices, earbuds that we often use nowadays, a common device that we use. So over long durations of usage, how do we keep it clean? Especially, we're very cautious of, very unsanitary and, not so tidy, environment. So how can you keep it clean? Stay tuned for that one. Again, collaboration, the talk about, Apple's introduction of an Apple car in the near future. Who are they partnering with? Is it the known South Korean car manufacturer? It's not what you think, so we'll talk about that again later. Then we have Hyundai, a South Korean car manufacturer, has released they call it the coolest minivan of sorts. So can't wait to share that later on. And then in terms of cars, so companies like Domino's is using technology to provide a better service and also to maintain that social distancing that obviously with the pandemic still going on. And finally, we have in terms of toys. So if you like Transformers, so we've come to a point maybe in terms of technology providing us a better product in terms of how toys would look like in the future here. So anyway, so to start off, so our first topic here is about Microsoft. Now, Microsoft has been one of the biggest tech companies in the world. Obviously, they're based in the United States and they were helmed previously by Mr. Bill Gates. And now, they've been doing a lot of things, not necessarily behind the scenes, but they've been slowly and surely growing their company. Now, obviously, Microsoft is known for their software capability, i.e., the Windows operating system, the Microsoft Office and whatnot. But outside of that, they've been expanding their businesses in terms of cloud businesses. And now they've been acquiring businesses in terms of gaming. Obviously, they own the Xbox platform. And then you also have, in the works plan, acquiring Discord. Then there were talks of acquiring TikTok last year, but that did not came to fruition. So meaning they've been growing steadily and meaning, they're doing or going in the right direction in a sense in terms of how to compete in this very competitive, tech market, so to speak here. Now, obviously, Microsoft can only be seen as the second American company to be able to reach the 2 trillion market capitalization. So the first one was Apple, which they were able to do that last year. So what's interesting here is their stock price climbed more than 1% last week, boosting its market capitalization to a record high of almost 1.9 trillion, so almost $2 trillion. So if the shares continue to rise as much as 5%, then they would soon, belong to the exclusive 2 trillion club, which is no small feat here. Let's see, where was it? There you go. So as mentioned, so Microsoft is not going to replace the Apple company as the top brand in the United States, but Microsoft is one of the most valuable U.S. public company, right? Obviously, iPhone's 2 trillion valuation is pretty significant compared to how they started in decades past. Obviously, the company must be doing something right to be able to reach this success and reach this significant milestone, so to speak. And one of the companies that they've been, I mentioned earlier, they've been acquiring slowly but surely. It's not just I mentioned Bethesda, ZeniMax Studios, then you have Discord, and now they're in talks to buy an AI firm or artificial intelligence firms known as Nuance Communication, and it's worth around $16 billion. So, they've been buying up companies left and right. So they spent, how much was it for what do you call this? For ZeniMax, almost 8 billion. Then buying of Discord in around 10 billion. So they've been buying. It's as if billion is not a big amount here, but it is pretty significant here. Now, obviously, they've also acquired. For those who are not familiar, they also owned LinkedIn, right? And which they acquired years past in the sum of 26 billion. So many of the companies are, almost reaching in the 50 billion range. And I think they're not yet done in terms of acquiring said companies here. And what one would wonder, how come Microsoft is buying several companies now? Obviously, other tech companies have been embroiled in controversy, in a sense that they've been embroiled in the antitrust issue with the likes of Google, Amazon, Facebook, and the likes. And Microsoft seems to be under the radar for some reasons. But anyway, on a related story, so is the acquisition for Microsoft's the beginning of something more elaborate here in the future? And based on the article, it mentions they have a lot of billions to spend around, as much as 136 billion, according to Business Insider's article here. And as mentioned, so they acquired ZeniMax, a gaming publisher, so to help boost their Xbox platform for gamers. Then you also have what company is this? Yeah, Affirm's network for $1.3 billion. So it's a 5G networking company. And then you also have CyberX, which they bought $165 million, and other small acquisitions. So they've been on a buying spree in a sense. And then, as mentioned, Discord was acquired, or in the process of being acquired. Then they were planning to go into the consumer side, which is buying the social media TikTok. But Oracle won. They lost out to Oracle here. And obviously, they also have acquired other gaming publishers. Mojang is another one, known for their game Minecraft, if you're familiar, worth around 2.5 billion. So they also acquired code sharing services, GitHub, in the sum of 7.5 billion. So they've been aggressively, buying companies left and right here. And what would wonder, what's their ultimate strategy here? Would they be, put in the same boat as those tech companies mentioned earlier into an antitrust issue again? So let's see here. There you go. And as I mentioned, with the likes of the tech giants, you have Google, Amazon, Facebook, and Apple are all subject in the antitrust investigations. Obviously, as a company, your goal is to maximize your opportunity, your ability to earn profit or revenue. So how do you do that? So you go beyond your scope, you diversify your business, acquiring other businesses that make sense. And obviously, if you go too big, it becomes monopolistic, that's why it's up to the government to balance everything. If you go too big, should you separate your company into different divisions or different companies as mentioned? But Microsoft has not been immune to controversy. They were in a antitrust issue way back in the 90s with regards to their a monopoly of the software, of their OS. Now, in terms of their acquisition, they've been strategic in terms of their positioning here. And one of the key mentions here, they stated that they've been staying ahead of the curve in the tech industry and investing for future growth. So, meaning their strategy for buying companies is the possibility of, what's ahead of them. It's not what they're trying to do now. Obviously, it's important to look what's in front of you, but also what's in front of you. So, meaning looking beyond outside of their core businesses. So the key insight for all of these companies or tech companies is their core business, obviously to maximize it. Now, since Microsoft has a plethora of their cash reserves waiting to be utilized, so it's mentioned here it's practically unlimited if you have more than 100 billion of cash lying around. So it makes sense to invest on it in the right positioning. So obviously, in terms of innovation, it's difficult to recreate the success that they've had, but acquiring other companies makes more sense than others, right? And as mentioned, so what will Microsoft do next year? So will they continue to buy more companies? And with the looks of it, it's the right, it's the right way to move about. And according to the analyst here, Carolina Milanesi of Creative Strategies, she mentions that the market is very competitive, especially in the tech industry, right? So obviously there have been mentions of AI is the way of the future. So investing in tech companies that is related to AI is another. Then you have cloud services is another, which Microsoft is already into that with their company Azure. As mentioned, some moves might be good for the company. And I think other companies have been doing the same thing. With Apple, we'll be talking into detail in terms of pivoting, not just focusing on their smartphone products, but also into car manufacturing in the near future here. So it would be exciting to see what's the direction Microsoft will be. Now, if they keep on growing, will they be in the same boat as the other tech companies mentioned earlier? So we'll take a look here. And what's important here is I think they made a conscious effort in terms of appealing to their general consumer. Now, obviously, in terms of gaming, they're second only to Sony in terms of the gaming platform, and creating the Xbox Game Pass is a tremendous value for a consumer, and buying game studios, big publishers, and having the exclusive right so you can play in any platform, whether in your console, PC, or even in cloud services, is going to create obviously a big market for their products. And obviously I think they're trying to integrate that with their other technologies, not just in business as well as in the consumer side here as well. And obviously that the main tech advantage is to take advantage of any opportunity that it sees, not just in cloud computing as I mentioned, also focusing on the consumer space and in other aspects as well. And obviously money is not an object here, so it would be interesting to see where they will be in a few years time here. Anyway, next we have here is, as mentioned earlier, so we were talking of partnership with companies. Now for quite some time it used to be that companies left and right would partner up to help each other's business grow, and lately it's very far few in between. But in the case of Netflix, so they're the leading streaming giants worldwide right now, and other companies, other major studios have been trying to capitalize on the frenzy of people watching being entertained at home or on the move here. So they've been exclusively releasing their films in their corresponding platforms. But for me, I think it makes sense for those studios to partner up with other streaming services so that more people can benefit or have access to watch your movies, and in turn make you more money. And in this case, the Netflix, the company, has strike a deal with one of the major film studios, Sony Films. So the upcoming Sony Spider-Man movies will be released to the platform of Netflix here. So I'm a subscriber, so I'm looking forward to it. And as mentioned, so all movies released by Sony Films, Sony Pictures will be streamed exclusively on Netflix after their theatrical and home entertainment releases. So I'm assuming there's an arrangement with the movie theaters to be released for about a month or even less. before they simultaneously release it to the streaming services here. So movies such as Morbius, I didn't know Morbius was in the works. Uncharted, I heard of it. I forgot, is it? Who's the main character? Who's going to play? Is it Nathan Fillion? I think it was a different character. But the young Nathan Drake is going to be played, I think, by Tom Holland, I think. Then they mentioned also Bullet Train is going to be released later that time. So what's interesting is, so they'll be able to stream already the popular animation Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which I've seen. It's a good movie. So also future Venom and other Spider-Man films will be released in said platform. So something to look forward if you're a Netflix subscribers, right? As mentioned, they also will be releasing other franchises such as Jumanji, which I think they've already released that in, they've licensed that in Netflix. You also have Bad Boys, so they have 3 sequels, 1, 2, and then the last one, which I haven't seen, which will be included in the deal as mentioned. So it will give us an opportunity to see how will this partnership turn out. Will it be beneficial for Sony, hopefully, or will they be forced to create their own streaming services, which hopefully they will not go into that direction as well, because so they can keep on focusing on creating more quality films for the consumer, for the moviegoers, and entice us to watch more films, good quality films, not just films for the sake of releasing films in general here. And what's interesting here is Netflix has committed to make a number of films over the course of the deal. So meaning the partnership here is not just to release the streaming service, streaming licenses fee, but as well as produce films for Sony, so that it can be, which in fact, Netflix has been investing in creating more content, which is giving them the key competitive advantage over, with the likes of, let's say, the next closest competitor is Disney Plus, right? But if they keep on growing their library, it's very difficult for other competitors to catch up. Obviously, they're the pioneers in the streaming services, and more content is always king. So is it more of the content, or is it more of the platform, or is it a little bit of both here? Anyway, so speaking of partnerships, so collaborating, I think, is one of the key ways to grow your business if it makes sense as a business, right? And with the likes of, here we have Adidas partnering with, of all companies, Lego, a toy company, right? And one might seem, how can a or an apparel company or shoe company can partner with that, that's meant for kids toys in general? But if you were to look at it, it makes all the sense in the world. So let's see here. So as mentioned, so here we have Adidas with their typical designs of their shoes, the 3 stripes here. And what's interesting here is you can incorporate different shades, different colorways to design it to your specification, so to speak. So let's see here. So obviously Nike, Adidas here, is doing well by themselves as individual companies, as well as Lego. They build Lego bricks for kids, young kids, or kids at heart, so to speak. But their collaboration, as you can see here, the stripes here on the side, you can see that it can be interchanged with different color schemes here. So if you prefer using green, blue, red, or any combinations here. And you can see here the design of the sole of the shoes, especially in the front lip. You can see it looks like the bricks from the pattern from the Lego bricks here. And obviously, creating this design is going to be interesting. So if you're an Adidas lover and a Lego lover, it makes sense for you to check it out, buy this product, and see what you can come up with. For me, it's not just Lego that they partner with, obviously with shoe designers as well. So with the likes of Stan Smith, so I bought their products. So it's a good collaboration, and it's a very, what do you call this, different perspective, so to speak. And it's making them it's profitable, right? And it's not just, Lego they're partnering up. So you can also see that Adidas is also creating a special edition by partnering up with Samsung by producing the Galaxy Buds Pro with an Adidas insignia special edition. So let's take a closer look here. Yeah, it's this one. So it's similar to Stan Smith's design, right? And you can clearly see here. So the the headphones here is placed on a sort of cap design for the earbuds holder or the charger. You can see here, and it has the logo of Adidas on outside, but inside it's a Galaxy Buds design there. So it makes sense, especially if you're a techie. You like wearing wearables, so wearing the earbuds here makes sense. So it's fashionable, it looks premium, so combining those two companies makes sense for them. So it's not just technology, but obviously with their apparel as well here. And obviously I'm always looking forward for other companies to look into partnership to create a different sorts of products. And I think Apple is trying to do that later on, so we'll talk about that in a bit. And will it make sense? Will it be beneficial for either of them? We'll see. But here's to always being positive. Anyway, next we have here, we mentioned about, speaking of earbuds. So we often use now wireless earbuds, right? For convenience, for portability and such. But we use it often. How can we ensure that it stays clean and sanitized? Obviously we're very cautious of, do you share it with other people? Where do you place it? How do you get it clean? Do you just wipe it off with a clean cloth and that's it? Well, in this case, there's a company here that introduced a way, ingenious way on how to clean your earbuds here. So they're using a washing machine. No, not a regular washing machine, but a very tiny washing machine for the sole purpose of just cleaning your earbuds here. So a Kickstarter company, what's the name of the company here? It's called a Cardlax Earbuds. So they created this earbuds. So let me see here. There you go. There you go. So it's an earbuds company. So if you can see here that the the washing machine here, it's a very tiny. It's not your typical washing machine that you can wash your clothes with, but it can clean your, well, according to their article, the company is stating that it can clean those earbuds. So the process is very simple. So popping open the lid of the earbuds washer first reveals a tiny spring brush that used to dislodge larger chunks of dirt. So you remove the dirt first, you clean it out, clean out the deeper crevices and harder to reach areas. Now, once the pre-wash is complete, the earbuds are dropped into what looks like a cleaning drum, similar to a washing machine. And then, the sponges, the lightweight foam that make up sponges are used, and then there's a 70% alcohol added, and the core spins, the earbud rubs against it and the wall of the drum, so removing finer particles of wax until what's left is a pair of buds that should look new as the day you bought it. Now, is it safe to use or to share with other people? But obviously companies coming up with new technologies here to share for the consumers to use is always a good choice here. So as mentioned here, the inner parts of the machine itself can be removed and rinsed underwater afterwards. So it's supposed to be easy to be utilized and reused for future purposes. Now, the creators mentioned that the promise that the cleaning process is gentle and causes no damage to your earbuds. And while promoting, or while promoting, according to their promotional videos. So actually, it uses the Apple earbuds as an example to be clean, and so far so good. And it mentioned it can also clean other brands as well, with the likes of Samsung's Galaxy earbuds as well as Bose earbuds. So how early can we have access here in our country? We still have to wait and see, but we're looking as the weeks, months, or even years go by, we're looking for better technology, how to maintain our products clean. I think a popular brand for cleaning your house is Dyson, I think, for vacuum cleaning and so forth. Anyway, speaking of Apple, we mentioned this earlier. So Apple Car has been in talks and been rumors for some time. And what's interesting here is that Apple was first rumored to partner up with a South Korean company, and it was supposed to be Hyundai, which made sense since they're in the car manufacturing business. So they have the core competency to build a quality car. Now, whether it's a regular combustible combustion car or electric vehicle car, they can do it either or both ways, since Hyundai recently acquired, right, Boston Dynamic, right? So it made sense, since they're not only creating their own electric vehicles, but having you know being more well versed in the AI technology realm gives them an advantage here. But seems to be that the partnership is not meant to be, since obviously Apple wants to put the stamp or their logo in the car, so it will be known as Apple car, not as a Hyundai car. Obviously, based on certain disagreements, that didn't fall through. Instead, they've been looking at other car manufacturers, and the unlikeliest partnership was mentioned in this article. So they were looking in other car manufacturers, also in, I think, in Japan. They were looking at, I think it was Honda or I forgot which Japanese car maker, but it didn't pan out. But it came back to a South Korean company, but not a car manufacturer, but a used to be smartphone maker, but they also make uh, television OLED screens, which is LG. Now, question is, how are they able to make cars if they're known for making screens? Which in turn comes in the Magna company, which is known for making car parts for different car manufacturers. So Apple is betting that partnering with LG and Magna, the company, is the right choice for them to showcase their individual skills or core business. Apple's, design control in a sense, and LG's, technology in terms of screen, then Magna's capability in manufacturing car here. So question is, will this bear fruit in the very near future? Let's see here. I think it was mentioned, how long will it take for them to produce the car here? So obviously, Apple lovers should be excited that, a car of this stature can come in anytime soon here. Now, obviously, the initial partnering with talks with Hyundai was looking promising, but it went sour. And partnering with the LG company as well as Magna, the company, makes more sense for Apple here. Which is obviously Apple has a long-standing relationship already with LG, which has supplied LCD screens for the other components for their smartphone line. So there's a relationship already there. Now, for when the Apple car will be seen released in the future, it was mentioned that, there were reports that it claims that an Apple car can be seen in the road sometime in the year 2024. So that's still a few years away, and obviously making a car compared to a smartphone is not as easy as it looks. And obviously one has to consider different aspects before you can create a concept car to an actual consumer car, similar how Tesla has been pushing the cars when they started, right? Creating all the hype. Obviously Apple has the brand capability for that one, but actually having a viable vehicle for market consumers would be tremendous. Actually, from my perspective, I think it would make sense if they can incorporate some sort of AI technology, self-driving capability, whether it's level 3 or even going to as much as level 5. I think if Apple can do that, they can make leaps and bounds in terms of not just being known for a smartphone company, but also as a car manufacturer, which is a big market here. It's a trillion industry here. So looking forward to where the direction Apple is. Now, I might not buy an Apple product in terms of phones, but I might buy an Apple car if it's that compelling of a case here. Anyway, on related story, now Apple has been mentioned in the previous article as mentioned regarding to making the first Apple car. But on a related story, according to The Verge, uh, one might not realize that the iMessage feature in iOS is not necessarily exclusive to Apple users only. It was mentioned that there was a possibility that the iMessage can be incorporated in Android devices. So meaning whether you're Samsung or Apple smartphone user, you can talk to one another. Now, question is why they did not pursue this, knowing that they could easily do this. They have the capability. Well, according to their strategies, their business will be hurt more. Obviously, Apple has been trying to put a stranglehold in their ecosystem, making sure that any Apple user will only stay in the ecosystem, make it difficult for them to shift to a different platform. Obviously, that's anti-consumer. You should have the option and make it easier so that if an Apple user can see that you can talk to anyone outside of the platform, you can convince them why not use Apple instead, right? It's not always the case of citing that you're limiting your option, but giving them an option just goes to show how confident you are in your capability, right? And this was mentioned in one of the emails of their Apple employees, and according to some high-ranking executives that revealed regarding the battle between the Epic Games and Apple, as mentioned, uh, it mentions that Epic, the company, argues that Apple consciously tries to lock customers onto its ecosystem of devices, which is true, right? I mean, it's their right to do that. Otherwise, they're concerned that consumers might flock to a different platform, which is, the case here. If you're an, what do you call this? If you're a Samsung smartphone user, are you more likely to shift to an Apple or vice versa? Based on the data in the United States, it's less likely that an Apple user will shift to a different platform. Now, that's not the case in other regions, but obviously, Apple's stranglehold in the North American region is a key factor here. Now, question is, why is that so? Now, one of the one of the former employees of Apple mentions that the number one reason that it's difficult for anyone or in the Apple universe to leave is because of the iMessage application here. Now, obviously, you use the iMessage as a means to communicate with your friends and families, and especially in the North American, the culture of, especially if you're a student or a kid, if you're at school and you communicate with your classmate and you don't have that same technology, you'll be somewhat ostracized in a sense. You'll be mocked and say, why are you not using an iPhone? And you ask your parents to buy it for you. And obviously now there are cheaper alternatives, cheaper versions of iPhone, so it's much easier for them to buy, whether it's brand new or even second hand. So question here is, will Epic make a case for how, I would say, brutal, or for sticking to their guns, to their core strategy of locking in the ecosystem here? Now, there are obviously advantages to that, obviously advantage to the company, but disadvantage for the consumer, especially for their anti-repair policy. So that's very anti-consumer. If your device is broken, you should be able to get it fixed, right? Whether through Apple themselves or to a third-party repair companies here. But that's a different discussion altogether here. But the key point here, as mentioned, Apple decided distinctively not to develop the iMessage for Android as early as almost 10 years ago, 2013. So they could have made a version on Android that worked with iOS. So meaning, obviously, if it's a software, anyone could make it compatible for any platform here. And so that users, both platforms, would have been able to exchange messages with one another seamlessly. Now, obviously, that hasn't happened. Will that happen anytime soon? Very unlikely. And what's ironic here, and based on the article, it was mentioned that even before Steve Jobs passed away. Steve Jobs mentioned he was a proponent that announced that it would be an open industry standard way back in 2010. So what happened to that? Obviously, they changed their strategy, obviously to their benefit, not to the consumer's benefit here. Whether that changes in the future, hopefully, we'll see. Anyway, speaking of technology, we were talking about the demise of the partnership, of the potential partnership between Hyundai and Apple here. But guess what? So Hyundai has released a new minivan here called the Staria. Now, it looks cooler than it sounds, and it's already released in the market. Now, there are good news and bad news, which we'll discuss in a little bit here. So what's interesting here, that the vehicle is a typical minivan. Now, one would assume that a minivan is boring in a sense, but once you look at it, you would be astonished as to its design here. So let's see here. There you go. So obviously the design here is somewhat sleeker, futuristic, as I mentioned, looking at the design in terms of, the exterior, the lighting itself, right? But that's not the best part. The interior is what they're selling here, that it serves as a multi-purpose vehicle, similar to how a SUV would look like. And they're calling it a, what do you call it? MPV? Yeah. Minivan purpose, multi-purpose vehicle, or minivan purpose vehicle. I don't know which one it stands for. But anyway, so let's take a closer look on its design. So it has different designs, different variations. So whether you're looking for basic utilitarian purposes, more luxury, or more space. So let's see here if you can see the different designs. So you can see it just looks like a typical minivan here. Obviously with the amenities of better technology here, better sensor, better safety, and of so forth. But what's important here, it's what's inside here. So let's see if we can... here you can see here in terms of the console here. So it has a big LCD screen here. So it's touch based now, trying to compete with the others, and it looks premium in terms of their design here. Now apart from that, let's see other. So you can see here it has different configurations. So right now 2, 4, 6, 8. It has 8 or 9 seater here. So for maximum seating capacity here. Now they have different variations to accommodate different purposes. So if you're trying to cram as many people, this makes sense for you. But what's interesting here, the chairs can be swiveled, so you can converse here. So it has practicality. So if you're in a meeting on the go, this would be useful, and especially if you're with family and so forth. But I think they have a video here that we can see here. Yeah, let's go back here. Yeah, let's see here. So they have a video here. So let's take a closer look here.
Beautiful on the inside as it is on the outside.
So you can see here in terms of their design, it looks sleek and modern, especially the tail lights and the front lights. Now in terms of their design, let's look at the interior here. Now I mentioned earlier that you can seat as much as 11 people. Then you can have a different variant wherein it only has
because Staria is about to
5
change your
seating
future
capacity, so you have more headway or room in the middle compartment. So especially if you have family or maybe
leads a busy life,
an executive
runner
and sort,
also happens to be running late.
More space. So
super mom of all.
You can see it's automated, so it gives you more space.
Unfazed. You see, this is why she's a CEO.
Here. So you can use it going
Even
to and from. So they're boasting that the wideness of their
panoramic windows.
What do you call this?
Now,
the side,
isn't that nice?
Side glass is breathtaking, so you can see a clear view in terms of
Premium can protect
whether it's in front and back. Okay, now.
No matter what kind of hectic sort of day she has here.
Another feature that they have
here.
Yes, so it's more for utilitarian, as I mentioned. So you can see more people here, just people, so you can put too much baggage or stuff at the back. Unless you
setting that parking brake has never been
fold
smooth
the back
or
seat
safer.
there, so you can put more stuff here with this video. So you can use it for many
And
purposes,
do you
for
see those
business
long
or even
dresses
for
never
work
touch the floor?
and so forth.
Guess it's
What's
time for me to
interesting, you
sit
can
back
also
and watch
create.
these young ones work their
I think the
fashion
one for
wizardry
family is an interesting one.
and design.
So here you can showcase it with your
Buckle up,
family,
everyone.
go on
They're
long
about to head
trips.
into the wild to catch
So suited
tonight's
for family
meteor
here.
shower.
Now what's interesting here, you can,
Something our
well,
driver
they're
here
saying
is
you
so
can camp
excited.
with your family.
Keep an eye on his family even while he's
So it
driving.
has cameras.
Now, don't be so impatient.
Where is it? There you go. This
It even
one.
turns into a
So
cozy
you can
place
see
for
here
the
they
whole
can
family.
convert the back portion. So if you have a camping trip, now I wouldn't say it's the
Time to
most
hurry back
comfortable,
inside.
but it can make do if it's a short trip. I don't know if you'd like to camp inside the car, right? Because of its limitation, or you're supposed to go to the bathroom if that's the case here. But it makes a strong case here. But it looks cool, and especially the one at the top here, the skyline here. So you can see through the sky, so it looks beautiful, especially you let in sunlight during the day, and makes a compelling case. Now, it's not just
Sometimes
that,
the
they
best
have the
things in life are
Uber
unexpected,
Premium.
right?
What was it? There you go here.
Limousine.
So they have the Uber Premium
The ultimate
for
luxury
the
ride with a
elite.
spacious
So you
interior
have a four-seater here.
and tons of high-end
So you
finishing
have the
touches.
fixation or the
Impressive.
illusion of being in a
Now just
airplane.
sit back, relax,
So you can see
and
like
enjoy
just
the
like
new
a regular
era of
cabin.
movement.
You have the luxurious seat, the luxurious tables, the amenities, and so forth here.
To a new
while on
dimension
a
of
car.
space with the endless possibilities that shine like
Would
the
you be
countless
interested
stars.
to buy one in the near future? Well, there's good news and bad news, as I mentioned. So the good news here is, if you're in the United States, well, tough luck for you. It will not be released in that market anytime soon. But in terms of Asia, they will be releasing, I don't know which variant, and as well as in Australia here. So looking forward to that one. I think they're trying to outcompete their Kia Carnivals, which is another minivan of sorts, a luxurious minivan here. So it's interesting to see here what the future of cars here. So it's not just the electric vehicles that's on the horizon, but companies are still looking ways on how to innovate or entice consumers, car lovers, into buying more cars in the future here. Anyway, speaking of cars, so obviously we've seen cars have been used for public consumer use, right? With better technology, AI technology, and whatnot. But for businesses as well, how can they take advantage of better technologies? Now, one of the companies, Domino's, a pizza delivery known for their pizza products, is delivering their products in a very, I won't say unusual way, but a different way than what we're accustomed, a person delivering it to your doorstep. Now they're using autonomous vehicles here. And how are they able to do that? By partnering with, what do you call this? Partnering with a tech company here. So, what was it? There you go. So they're partnering with a company named Neuro. So Neuro's R2 self-driving car is the only vehicle to receive an exemption from the United States Department of Transportation. So you can able to deliver your product, in this case pizza, to your neighborhood. So what they're doing here is they're doing a test pilot of sorts. So a customer will be randomly selected so that they can test out, deliver your products here. So let's take a closer look. Where was it? There you go. There you go. So as you can see here, so the point here is, once the R2 pulls up to the destination, the customer would then enter the PIN, a touch screen, then the doors would retract to reveal the food inside. So let's see if we can move it. So you can see here that it's very simple, too big. It's just basic, deliver the pizza or whatever you ordered then, and then you deliver it, and then that's it. You receive it and you can enjoy the food there. So actually, they've already announced this program way back in 2019. So they've been planning, working with Domino's to be able to implement this currently. And I think if it pans out well, so they're going to try it out in other areas as well. And it was mentioned that they have partnered with another company, Kroger, to deliver groceries in select stores in Arizona. So they've got the experience, and I'm sure other companies, self-driving companies that has the technology has been partnering with other companies as well to, you know, fast track the implementation of self-driving vehicles. But I don't think we haven't reached that yet of, you know, really so-called self-driving vehicles in a sense, because getting to that point, meaning you need a lot of machine learning technology behind it to keep on learning and improving, iterating to reach a point that, you know, it seems it looks flawlessly, just like how the smartphone started, right? Used to be it was wired based, then became wireless, now it's became more feature packed, it becomes a smartphone, and to the point that, you know, it's becoming more advanced and more advanced as the years goes by. So I'm looking forward that, you know, companies, you know, especially in the logistics, would be delivering your products using AI technology here. Anyway, finally, for some interesting story. So if you're into toys, you might be interested here that, you know, a toy may from the Transformer animated series, if you're familiar, the Autobots and the Decepticons, if you're familiar. So way back in my time. Anyway, so obviously, if you're familiar with the Transformers, their vehicles or whatever, if it's an airplane or a truck or a land-based vehicle, they transform. That's why it's called a Transformers, right? To transform into a robot, to any type of vehicle, right? And used to be when you play with them, you have to play with it, transform it piece by piece. So it would, let's say, if you're Optimus Prime from a robot, physical standing, you know, how many inches, then it would convert back to a truck, or if it's Bumblebee and so forth, right? What's interesting here, you know, a partnership between two companies, between Hasbro, which owns the rights for Transformers, has partnered with Robosen Robotics to actually create an actually transforming transformer, literally and figuratively. And obviously, it's going to not going to be cheap. The fact that, you know, transformer figures is already expensive, but having that capability is, you know, looking tremendous here. But anyway, let's take a closer look here. So here we can see Optimus Prime here. So the company is able to transform, as mentioned, Optimus from an actual vehicle to a bipedal robot, which is standing right now. And it comes along with all those bells and whistles, the sound effects and all, which is going to be interesting. Now, how much is it? Stay tuned for a bit. So as mentioned, so the company Robosen Robotics is partnering with the toy maker Hasbro. So to bring the Autobots leader back to life, literally and figuratively, right? So it's going to be a collectible if you like to collect toys. So what's interesting here is if you say the following keywords, I would say commands. So hey Optimus, and you can see how it transforms itself. So I think it has a video here. So you can see here from the actual standing Optimus to an actual truck here. Do they have the actual video? Yeah, there you go. So you can see here. So it's not edited, so it's moving on its own. So it's very interesting here. Now, it's using its 27 servo motors spring into action, making the character animate as it responds with the iconic booming voice of Optimus from the cartoon series, right? And then you can use an app to use it as a remote control to have it walk or drive around in track form. So it makes an interesting case here. And another thing here, if you say roll out, you can watch Optimus go from robot to truck and drive off. So, you know, if you're a kid, you've been ambitioning it to actually do it by itself rather than see it in TV or in films. This is the best time. And obviously, the figurine stands as 19 inches, so not that big, but it's big enough, you know. And then its chest and arms moves up and down slightly as it stands, awaiting your command. So as you can clearly see here, so you know it's not the best iteration, but it can do its job. So you know it's a work in progress. So you can just imagine in the future that, you know, toys would be doing this as a norm rather than as a unique feature here. So it also has 80 sound effects in total. So it would be quite interesting. So if you're a toy lover here, in particular, you like Transformers here, would you be interested to buy it? Now, if you're interested, how much is it going to cost you? Well, you'll be surprised. It's not going to be cheap. It's around $700 here. So it's as expensive as a brand new smartphone here. But hey, that's what you pay for new unique features here. And would you still buy it despite that? So would be interesting to see here. Anyway, that concludes our discussion for today. So if you have any questions regarding the articles discussed here, feel free to leave your comments down below and I'll get back to you. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you again next week, same time, same channel. Take care. Bye.